your morning edition on WNYC at 7:30 today on the Leonard Lopate Show. Leslie Stahl turns her journalistic guide to grandmotherhood. That's director Richard Linklater on his latest movie, Everybody Wants Some, which is being called a spiritual sequel to his 1993 hit Dazed and Confused. It's coming up today at noon here on WNYC.
WNYC is supported by GEICO, celebrating over 75 years of providing auto insurance for drivers across America. More information on auto insurance available at geico.com or 1-800-947-AUTO. The New York Community Trust, helping generous New Yorkers fund the causes they love in their communities. What do you love? More at nycommunitytrust.org.
Just ahead, astronomers have discovered planets around distant stars. What they haven't found outside our solar system is a moon. Not yet, anyway.
I'd certainly like to see a moon that is the size of Mars. Then you can start talking about moons that maybe hold on to an atmosphere for a long period of time.
Such moons might be good places to look for life. We'll have more on the research for the first alien moon coming up in about 15 minutes. This is WNYC at 7:31. Here's Soundcheck's John Schaefer with today's Gig Alert.
Algiers is a trio of musicians from the American South who now live in London and New York. Their self-titled debut was released in late 2015, and it's an electrifying fusion of gospel hollers, jagged punk guitar, and some articulate commentary on race and politics. All of it is evident in this song called Black Unit.
So I taste my soul sweet.
Algiers performs tonight at Le Poisson Rouge. You can learn more about the show at soundcheck.org.
Pretty nice today, sunny skies, getting up to around 58 degrees. Then tonight turns partly cloudy with overnight lows in the lower 40s. It's going to be sunny right through the weekend, and temperatures getting warmer, getting up to around 60 tomorrow, lower 60s on Friday. Highs will be in the mid-60s on Saturday, and we'll be hitting the lower 70s by Sunday. Right now it's clear in New York City, 40 degrees in Central Park. It's 39 in Islip, 33 in Bridgewater at 7:33.
Support for NPR comes from WNYC members and from the Aetna Foundation, working to create more healthy days in communities through the Healthiest Cities and Counties Challenge, based on the belief that everyone has a role to play in creating a positive health impact at healthiestcities.org. And Monster, who believes that a small business finds greater success when every candidate hired has passion, tenacity, and grit. Learn more at monster.com. Monster, find better.
It's Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm Steve Inskeep.
And I'm Renee Montaigne. Mark Zuckerberg has offered a glimpse at Facebook's master plan. He did this at F8, the company's conference in San Francisco. Here's NPR's Aarti Shahani.
The 31-year-old CEO gave a rousing speech with a glaring omission. But before we get to that, the highlights.
We stand for connecting every person.
Mark Zuckerberg on stage in a t-shirt.
For a global community. For bringing people together, for giving all people a voice, for free flow of ideas and culture across nations.
And he followed that vision with a game plan. In Facebook's products Messenger and WhatsApp, people are sending about 60 billion messages a day. That's 3 times more than regular text ever got. Zuckerberg laid out how, over the next decade, Facebook will build a suite of products, each with a projected billion or more users, that together serves one goal.
Give everyone in the world the power to share anything they want with anyone.
That's a mouthful, but they aren't empty words. For example, he unveiled a new messenger platform so that now, inside the privacy of that blue dot, you can stream a personalized CNN feed or get automated chatbots to help you cater a dinner or order flowers. Zuckerberg cracked a joke about that.
I find it pretty ironic because now to order from 1-800-Flowers, you never have to call 1-800-Flowers again.
If successful, Facebook could end up making many competitors, news apps, online shopping sites, music streaming services, even Google's search page, irrelevant, or at least less relevant. Much like Amazon became the everything store, Facebook could become the anything app. Video is key.
We're also at the beginning of a golden age of online video.
The company says people watch 3.4 hours of online video a day on average. Facebook recently opened up live video to everyone. Zuckerberg says he was watching a live video of a random mom skiing with her kids.
And it was just mesmerizing. I watched it for like a few minutes because I'm like, I really want to make sure these kids get down this hill.
As the CEO painted this detailed picture of his company, poised to empower everyone to share anything with anyone, the glaring omission was public safety, the risks that are arising the world over when Facebook connects people.
Bringing people together sounds great, but when people come together, they don't just do good things.
Zeynep Tufekci is a sociologist at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. She says Facebook has not paid nearly enough attention to the ugly things that happen when people come together. In Burma, the Buddhist majority has used Facebook to share calls for the killing of minority Muslims. Militants use the site as a weapons bazaar, even though Facebook has banned gun sales. Tufekci says Facebook isn't at fault for human dynamics, just for being naive.
I'm just a little surprised, this company is now more than a decade old, that we're still hearing these really vague, mushy values statements that don't take into account how Facebook actually operates as a dynamic, because it's a potent dynamic.
Facebook declined to comment on these public safety concerns. Aarti Shahani, NPR News, San Francisco.
The World Health Organization is expanding its ambition. The UN organization is best known for responding to outbreaks of Ebola or the Zika virus. Now it wants to focus on problems that grab fewer headlines, but that are much more widespread: depression, anxiety, and other forms of mental illness. We're going to talk about this with Dr. Shekhar Saxena, who oversees the WHO's efforts on mental health and substance abuse. Welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning, Steve, and thank you for getting me on the program.
What makes mental illness a global threat?
Many things, but to begin with, mental illnesses are common in every country, rich or poor, and they cause a lot of death and a lot of disability. That's what makes it important.
Okay, and what can the WHO do about that?
WHO has always kept mental health as a priority, and we are organizing a meeting to attract more attention on mental health. We believe that all countries need to pay more attention to mental health, and when it comes to mental health, all countries are developing countries.
Now, this is really interesting because when you say development, I think of building roads or power grids. You're saying that a network to attack depression or anxiety, that is just part of a country's development and should be anyway as well.
That's correct. Human resources are the most important resources for any country's development. And unless we have mentally healthy population which can devote its energies and intellect to the economic development of the country, you are missing a whole lot of development potential. That's what we are talking about.
How big is the gap between rich and poor countries when it comes to treatment options for people who have a mental health issue?
There is a large gap. There are countries which are in high income range where there is a psychiatrist for every 2,000 people. And there are other countries in Africa, Asia, also in Latin America, where there is one mental health worker for 1 million or more population.
I'm just going to stop you on that number. You're telling me that there are countries who have 1,000 times more mental health professionals than other countries on a per capita basis.
That's correct. There are some countries where there is a population of 19 million and just 3 psychiatrists.
What does it cost the world economy to not deal with people's depression, anxiety, or other mental health issues?
Just depression and anxiety cause $1 trillion worth of loss every year, and this is a trillion with a T. And unfortunately, most countries in the world are ignoring this. Our question is not whether you can afford to treat mental illnesses. The question is, can you afford not to do that, because you're incurring a lot of loss.
How do you get mental health services to a world where 60 million people are refugees, many of them on the move?
That's an important question, and our figures suggest that there is a 50 to 100% rise in depression and anxiety amongst people who have to migrate forcibly, people who are refugees. And if we take care of their psychosocial and mental health needs, these people adjust better, adjust more quickly, and can become productive members of society much earlier.
Dr. Shekhar Saxena works for the World Health Organization, which wants to expand its focus on mental health issues. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
You're listening to Morning Edition on WNYC. Just ahead, a preview of WNYC's new podcast, Two Dope Queens. It's coming up in about 10 minutes on this week's Note to Self. So it'll be sunny today, getting up to about 58 degrees. Then tonight turns partly cloudy with overnight lows in the lower 40s. Tomorrow will be sunny as well, getting up to around 60. Right now it is 40 degrees and clear in New York City, 39 in New Brunswick at 741.
WNYC support comes from Fully Committed on Broadway, starring Modern Family's Jesse Tyler Ferguson playing 40 roles. Avenue Q's Jason Moore directs this comedy about the bad behavior good food can inspire. Now in previews. More at fullybroadway.com. The next New York Public Radio Board of Trustees meeting will be Wednesday, April 20th at 4 p.m. at 11 West 53rd Street. Open to the public. Details at 646-829-4000 or wnyc.org.
We are WNYC, where New Yorkers turn for NPR News and a whole lot more.
From NPR News in Washington, I'm Dave Mattingly. A police task force is recommending sweeping changes within the Chicago Police Department, including an overhaul of how it handles allegations of excessive force by officers. Flint, Michigan's contaminated water is being examined again today on Capitol Hill. Quinn Kleinfelter with member station WDET says House subcommittees are holding a joint hearing.
Michigan Congressman Fred Upton says today's hearing will focus on how Flint's water became tainted with lead after the city switched its water supply to save money 2 years ago, not on who is to blame for it. Recent congressional hearings on Flint degenerated into partisan finger-pointing, with Democrats blaming Michigan Governor Rick Snyder and Republicans blasting federal regulators.
A sharp jump in attempted suicides in a Native community in northern Ontario is getting the attention of Canada's Parliament. Dan Karpinchuk reports.
Attawapiskat has had 40 suicide attempts by young people since March, overwhelming local health officials and sparking a state of emergency by the chief. Mental health and social workers have been flown in to help deal with the crisis, but MPs in Canada's Parliament agreed that action, not Band-Aid solutions, is what's needed to deal with a crisis that's affected many remote Native communities across the country.
Peabody Energy is seeking Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company employs about 7,600 workers. I'm Dave Mattingly, NPR News in Washington.
And this is WNYC in New York at 7:44. That's the sound of Verizon workers in Manhattan on strike this morning. The Communication Workers of America issued a statement yesterday saying Verizon executives have refused to meet the union's demands and bargain in good faith. Felipe Robles is an installation technician. She says the pension and retirement benefits are the most important part of the contract to her, but she feels like workers in general are under attack.
It doesn't appear that they want to give us, the things that basically we need. We're not asking for anything special. We just want to live.
Verizon says the average worker's yearly pay and benefits package is worth more than $130,000. The company says it has already trained thousands of replacement workers to prevent service disruptions. Most of the presidential candidates are campaigning in New York ahead of the state's primary next week. Donald Trump held a rally upstate in Rome yesterday where he urged his supporters to head to the polls.
Get out and vote on Tuesday. I will not let you down. We will win again. We will win, win, win. We're going to make America great again. I love you. Thank you.
New York's primary is next Tuesday, April 19th. You can see the schedule for all the candidates' rallies and other public events at WNYC.org. It's going to be sunny today, getting up to around 58 degrees. Then tonight dips down to the lower 40s. Right now it is clear, 40 degrees in Central Park, 39 in Portchester, 35 in Morristown at 7:45.
WNYC salutes the arts. Join us in supporting local organizations, including House of Speakeasy, bringing writers and audiences together at Seriously Entertaining, a literary cabaret at Joe's Pub at the Public Theater, and Empire City Men's Chorus, dedicated to performing an adventurous repertoire and continuing collaboration with living composers on new works. For more information about the Support the Arts program, visit wnyc.org/star.
You're listening to Morning Edition on WNYC. Advocates for victims of child sex abuse continue to push for changes in New York State law that would make it easier to go after perpetrators. Currently, victims can bring civil and criminal charges until they turn 23 years old. And if the abuse takes place in a public school or institution, victims only have 90 days to notify government entities if they intend to sue. New York Daily News reporter Ruvain Blau has been following the story closely, and he joins us now. Good morning, Ruvain.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So legislators have proposed changing the law before to make it easier for sex abuse survivors to press charges and sue, but those efforts failed. What's different this year?
The Daily News has put a lot of focus on the issue itself, and the advocates are really hoping that with the new change in leadership in the state legislature, without Sheldon Silver especially, that this is going to have a chance to going through.
So what's the rationale for giving victims 90 days to take action if they're public school students, but up to age 23 if they were students at a private or religious school? And how do the bills treat these two categories?
The 90 days is really generated by the laws regarding suing the city. People need to file something called a notice of claim to kind of earmark their intent, and that's city public schools are sort of under that umbrella. And the 23-year-old issue is kind of more of the focus as well, which is just a really short period of time that people have, like a really small window that they have to file suit against private schools.
The Daily News has been covering this issue doggedly. What are some of the cases you've uncovered where a change to this law could have really helped the victims?
Well, one of the cases we highlighted, and it's been out there for a few years, is the case of Joel Engelman, which is really a difficult case. He says he was molested as a child in Williamsburg Yeshiva, and he didn't really kind of come to terms with it until he was close to turning to 23. And he actually initially approached the school, the rabbi who was at the time the principal, and all he wanted was this rabbi to stop teaching or stop being involved with children. And the school got back to him and agreed that this was a problem for the school and that they should take action, and actually pulled him out of the school for several months. In the interim, Mr. Engelman turned 23 and was no longer able to sort of take any legal action. And then he found out that quietly the school had reinstated this rabbi and put him back in charge and working with children.
So who's fighting these efforts to change the law? You mentioned a little earlier Sheldon Silver, possibly. And why would they be fighting these efforts?
Sheldon Silver sort of done it behind the scenes. He's publicly said that he actually supports the legislation, but really the two main people who have done this are the Catholic Church and the Agudas Yisrael, which is a sort of a Jewish umbrella organization, a very, very powerful lobbyist group. They believe that if the law would be passed, it would enable people to kind of come out of the woodworks, and it would sort of generate a flood of lawsuits that would in turn ultimately bankrupt some of their schools that are already sort of facing large cash issues.
And how does the statute of limitations in New York State compare to similar laws elsewhere?
That's a great question, and New York State is really apparently like one of the worst. I think it's kind of ranked as like the fourth worst state in the country, and I think that's kind of why the Daily News is focusing in on the issue and trying to let readers and people in New York know that this is a law that is just sort of backwards compared to what's done in the rest of the country.
All right, thanks so much, Ruvain.
Thank you.
Ruvain Blau is a reporter with the New York Daily News. This is WNYC. listening to Morning Edition on WNYC. Stay tuned now for Note to Self. It's just ahead. And later on the program, strategists for Bernie Sanders' campaign have been quick to promote their candidate as a native son while here in New York. We'll take a look at the Vermont senator's Brooklyn roots and how the borough of his youth compares to the Brooklyn of today. Then President Obama convenes his National Security Council at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia today. On the agenda is how to defeat ISIS, how to advance peace prospects in Syria, and how to achieve these twin goals sooner rather than later. And 6 months ago, President Obama pledged to take in at least 10,000 Syrian refugees by October, but only about 1,300 have been resettled in the U.S. so far. We're heading into a very nice weekend full of very nice weather, starting with very nice weather today. Sunny skies getting up to the upper 50s, then tonight dips down to about 42. Tomorrow is going to be sunny as well. In fact, sunny skies right through the weekend, getting up to around 60 tomorrow. Highs will be in the lower 60s on Friday. We'll see mid-60s on Saturday and lower 70s on Sunday, and it even looks like we'll be in the mid-70s on Monday with mostly sunny skies. Right now it is clear, 40 degrees in New York City. It's 39 in New Brunswick at 7:51.
Support for NPR comes from member stations and from Inada, Japanese maker of full-body massage chairs, including the Flex 3S with pre-programmed shiatsu massages and full-body stretch sessions at InadaUSA.com. That's INADAUSA.com. And Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, working to explore the next generation of targeted therapies for many cancers. Videos, white papers, and patient stories are available at discovercarebelieve.org.
And then he's like, introducing Steve Miller, and everyone goes crazy. We're like, who is he? We don't know this old white dude.
But he seems so
he was
nice.
so cute.
What a nice man.
It's Note to Self, the tech show about being human. I'm Manoush Zomorodi, and today's episode is about how digital media is changing political discourse. And no, I don't mean like the presidential candidates targeting you on Facebook with their ads. That woman at the beginning of the show was comedian Phoebe Robinson. She is one half of a new podcast called Two Dope Queens. The other half of this duo is The Daily Show's Jessica Williams.
I just need a flask, like just, a simple flask. Yeah. So I went on Amazon, then I found there's a whole underworld of flasks. And you can get them in like suntan lotion form, like a shampoo bottle. And I was like, it's Two Dope Queens, so we'll just do bottles of lotion. Right. So I got a bunch of bottles of lotion.
I didn't drink out of the lotion bottle. You did.
Yeah, it was really embarrassing.
I was like, I'm not that black.
I was in like a sneaky.
Phoebe and Jessica are BFFs, and they are also my new colleagues here at WNYC Studios. They also invite all different kinds of people onto their podcast. Comedians who you usually won't hear from unless you absolutely go and seek them out.
I was walking down Sunset late at night, an old white lady walked up to me, hugged me, and whispered in my ear, I voted for you. I was like, what, me? Personally, or like Obama, or gay marriage, or what exactly? I cover a lot of bases here.
Okay, and see, here's where I want to lay it on you. I have a theory, specifically about women and podcasting. I think that listening to female-hosted shows is actually a feminist act, whether you mean it to be or not. There are lots of amazing female-led podcasts out there, and each show, like every woman, is so different.
It's Serial, one story told week by week. I'm Sarah Koenig.
Welcome to another round with Have It In, Tracy.
The heart is Caitlin Prest. I'm Phoebe Judge. This is Criminal.
I'm Krista Tippett, and this is On Being.
This is Death, Sex, and Money. I'm Anna Sale. Okay, so back to the theory. Podcasting is giving women a special kind of platform in media to express their ideas, their perspectives, and have a place to be unfiltered, to quite literally be heard. And there's real power in that, particularly for Black women like Phoebe Robinson.
I go, you know what? I'm gonna not go crazy black lady. I'm gonna go inner white lady customer service.
That's how you do it.
This is unacceptable.
Phoebe Robinson, welcome to WNYC and congratulations on Two Dope Queens.
Thank you. I'm honestly like over the moon. This has been such a journey. I hate to use that word. But you know, I love stand-up, but I feel like a podcast, just having like someone in your ear when you're like at home, it just feels so different.
And when you have this intimacy, I think it matters a lot who the voice is that you're listening to. Like if it's you guys, like, you know, two young African-American women, it's important.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, Jess and I always talk about this, because we just see such a lack of diversity, or like just people that we think are so funny that no one's paying attention to. And I'm like, it's not that hard to put a microphone in front of a gay man and ask his opinion on something. It's like not that hard to like talk to a trans person. It's like not that hard to talk to a lady comedian. It takes us no time to book the show. We're just like, yeah, these people are great. Why wouldn't they be on the show? And I just think society just conditions people to just ignore anything that's not the straight white male experience, and to feel like this is like a pity hire, or like we're throwing you a bone by like listening to like a black lady for 30 minutes. It's like, no, there are tons of black ladies here.
So for feminism, just to go back to it, what are some of the other things that you feel like need to be talked about?
Yeah, I think
be discussed.
The thing that's cool about feminism is that it's growing and it's evolving, and you know, I think one thing that they could work on as a movement is the intersectionality of things. I think like a lot of times feminism can just represent white feminists, especially of like a particular class, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I don't always see the rallying behind like sex workers or like trans women, or, you know, like, well, you're not really a woman. It's like, no, we're all in this together. And I think we just need to broaden the definition of feminism and be more inclusive. Because I think that's the only way we're going to like achieve equality, is if we do that, as opposed to like, well, you're not like the kind of woman I want to be. And it's like, well, we don't all have to be the same. It's the same thing like with like, I'm not like Jess is not like another black person. Like there's layers to women, layers to black people, and so I think we need to recognize that more. And it's cool, like we don't really think of our show that way, because Jess and I are just hanging out. This is like our friendship, and it's just on stage, but like there's just like a lack of representation. So when you can see someone who looks like you or sounds like you, that's very important. I think podcasting is a great way to open people's ears and also be a mirror for other people. I think podcasting just kind of opens up this world, and I think it's making everyone, we're all like kind of redoing our brains a little bit to be like, oh yeah, this story is also valid, this life is also valid, this voice is also important. And I know that's kind of scary to say in 2016, but I really do think people are really learning how to see women in a way that they haven't before.
Phoebe Robinson.
Thanks, guys.
Phoebe Robinson and her BFF Jessica Williams have a new show from WNYC Studios called Two Dope Queens. It's a little racy, not for the little ones. Please go check it out on iTunes or the WNYC app or wherever you listen to podcasts. And tell us if you have a great podcast to recommend that features people who don't usually get heard on the usual media outlets. Email us at notetoself@wnyc.org or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. We will compile your suggestions for our weekly newsletter, where actually we often make podcast recommendations, but we'll do a little special thing. Have you read the newsletter, by the way? It's pretty hilarious. You should subscribe if you don't already. You can find it at notetoselfradio.org. I'm Manoush Samarodi, and this is Note to Self from WNYC. Thank you so much for listening. WNYC received support from Grand Central Publishing, publishers of The Killing Forest. Author Sarah Bladel returns with a new thriller featuring police investigator Louise Rick, The Killing Forest, from Scandinavian crime writer Sarah Bladel, wherever books are sold.
You're listening to Morning Edition on WNYC. Coming up on 8 o'clock, it is going to be sunny today, getting up to around 58 degrees. Then tonight turns partly cloudy with overnight lows in the lower 40s. It's going to be sunny actually right through the weekend, and temperatures will be getting warmer as well, getting up to around 60 tomorrow. the lower 60s on Friday, mid-60s on Saturday, and on Sunday we'll be hitting the lower 70s. Very nice. Right now it's clear in New York City, 42 degrees in Central Park, 43 in Newark, it's 43 in the Bronx as well. This is WNYC. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock.
This is WNYC, FM, HD, and AM, New York. Just keep listening.
President Obama is meeting his national security team at CIA headquarters today. On the agenda is how to defeat ISIS and advance peace in Syria sooner rather than later. On the campaign